Hi folks, this is Pete from Pete's Tackle, and we're coming to you with another episode of Tackle Talks. And I want to introduce you to Dave Chichester, and he is the owner of Plugit Plugs. And I'm gonna have him explain to you his motto. Well, introduce himself first.
Well, hi, my name's Dave Chichester, and I kind of make things the old school way, so my motto's kind of don't get caught up in all the fancy, newfangled fishing ideas and stuff that's going on out there. Spend your money on stuff that doesn't really work just because it looks cool. So we make all our stuff out of wood, and they're all hand painted, and they're kind of an old school plug.
And they're cool. So, so you talked about your motto and stuff on that. So, can you explain the plugs to us a little bit and how they're built and that?
Yeah, I can. We start with just a square piece of wood, and we put them on a lathe, and we turn them on the lathe, and then we seal the wood, seal it up, primer it, and we airbrush everything, install the hooks, put them in the package, and get them out to you guys for sale. And hopefully you catch some fish with them.
That's a nice plug.
Yeah, this is one of our new paint jobs.
And that's rainbow?
Yeah, we just started making it. Actually, we got a guy over in Coeur d'Alene that fishes Pend Oreille a lot, and I give him one, and he nicknamed it Sweet Pickle. So I don't know why he calls it the Sweet Pickle, but he does. But
That's a catchy name for it.
This is the one I've told you that they're catching all the pike on. He's got three different pike on the same plug.
And how are they holding up for the
Well,
pike? Well, 3 pike on 1 plug, that's saying a lot on a wooden plug.
Yeah, he says it's still fishable. You know, he's still catching fish with it. And yeah, he's trolling it for rainbows and picking up pike on it.
So what's the benefits to your lures versus some of the other lures out there that are on the market? The plastic ones versus the wood.
For one, a plastic plug, if it gets beat up a little bit or gets a crack in it, it's going to fill up with water. And it's not going to perform right anymore because it's heavy. Where a wooden plug, sure, these plugs can get beat up and nicked up, and eventually the wood will soak up some water, and you might lose a little paint or something off them, but they're still going to work because it would have to be in a bucket of water for 2 weeks to soak up enough water to change the action.
And that's quite a while.
Yeah.
In between fishing trips, it'll dry and stuff, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I try to keep them. I keep them in a big plastic box for myself, but I drilled holes in it to let the moisture out.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, because otherwise you put them in there wet, and they're going to stay wet in there until you open that box again. You know, and they are wood, and they are painted. I mean, moisture is the big drawback on wood. You know, but the thing I think about them being wood is every piece of wood's different. Every piece of wood's a little heavier. One might be a little rougher when it comes off the lathe, so you have to sand it more. The angle might be 1 or 2% off a little bit, so they all have a little bit different action. Where if you have a plastic plug, every one of them's exactly the same except for the paint job.
Okay. Yeah. I paint I paint a lot of plastic stuff, crankbaits and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I do understand that.
Yeah.
A bunch. So.
Yeah.
So, go over some of the colors and why you go with how'd you come about getting the colors you got for them?
Oh, I just, when we first started out, I used to buy plugs from another manufacturer that went out of business. So when I first started out, I was just making them for myself, and I painted a few of them like the favorite ones I had of them. And then I just started experimenting with stuff. And I just come up with ideas of my own. People suggest things, what they'd like to see in a plug,
Right.
a color, so I'll paint a few up that way. a lot of times I think the action has a lot more to do with a fish striking than the paint job on the plug.
Have you tried just plain wood lures?
I
with
have.
no paint on
I
them?
do have one that I've towed around a little bit, but I didn't have any luck with it. But,
So a little bit of color, some shades do
yeah,
help.
and I think the lines, parallel lines on a lure, helps a lot. You know, and it depends on what the fish are feeding on.
And when I was making the flies for trolling for lake trout and for rainbow, the big Kamloop rainbow, I found that if I went over 2 colors, that it caught more fish. Because if you look at a fish, there's a lot more colors to a fish, and I don't know why that was. You know, I did I had a fire tiger, and I did a purple, pink, and white, which was my absolute favorite. I called it the curly fly back in the day.
Yeah.
No longer make those. But colors, you know, there has to be a little bit to it.
Oh yeah, there is. I'm not sure what I even brought here, but you know, this one's got some red on it, and the fish I'm targeting are those big Kamloops rainbows, and they eat other fish. That's what they eat,
Right,
and
right.
they eat a lot of bugs too. Like you'll see when we talk about the pools, I have a black fly on there. Well, this time of year, if you catch one of those fish and open him up, his belly will be full of those big black ants. So
Really?
you troll a black fly out there in the spring, chances are you're going to get some action. Or a black plug, a solid black plug. I have a lot of luck with this plug right here. And it's solid black. And then,
Okay.
you know, brighter colors. This one here actually is a really good plug. And especially in the fall when the salmon are starting to spawn, they get some color on them. And they get a lot of oranges and reds on them. And those fish will see that, you know, and think it's a salmon that's spawning. There's a lot of our salmon spawn on the shore.
Right,
You know,
right.
A lot of them don't spawn in the creeks or the rivers because they're not native fish.
So with that, you want to show us some of your rod setups, how you rig your rods and stuff
Sure.
with the fly you tie,
Mhm.
and also your plugs.
Yeah.
So I'll
Yeah,
grab
you
your
bet.
rods for you.
Okay.
What I use is an 8.5 foot rod, and a lot of that has to do with these fish are pretty big. You know, they can get
Okay.
over 20 pounds. So you need something you can put some leverage on with to get it to fight the fish. Also, the 8.5 rod just fits well with my boat. I can put them underneath the bow and they're completely out of the way, and that's about as long a rod as I can put under there. But I like a rod that's got kind of a soft tip to it and a stiffer mid-range and base to the rod.
Yeah, okay.
Because, like I say, it's a heavy fish, and when you're fighting them fish, you need something you can turn them around with, get them pointed back towards the boat. And you gotta start out with a line counting reel. These plugs you'll tow anywhere from 120 feet behind the boat to 300 feet behind the boat. Just depends on the day. The smoother the water, the shinier the day, the further back I put them. If the water's rough and it's cloudy like today and choppy, you can bring them up closer to the boat.
Okay.
But so I start out with the line counter
So
reel.
those are your rules of thumb right there.
Yeah,
Cloudy days and sunny days.
yeah,
Further out on sunny days and cloudy days, closer in.
yeah.
So,
And same with the plugs. On a bright sunny day, I like brighter colors. On a dark day, I like darker colors. Why that works, I don't know, but it seems to work pretty well.
that sounds pretty darn good. That'll help the everyday, somebody that's wanting to learn how to fish
Yeah.
for these. Just that little basic right there helps.
Yeah, if somebody wanted to get into
So-
fishing these big rainbows, and you wanted to go buy some lures, I'd buy a couple of dark colored lures, a couple of bright colored lures to start it out with. That way you kind of got it covered a little bit. Like me, I might have 50 different plugs in my boat, but I make them. I try to paint them, and if I like the paint job, I try to fish with them. And if they catch a fish, then I'll start making more of them. If I take them out there 3 or 4 weekends in a row and I don't get a bite on them or something, I might not waste my time making them.
So you really pay attention to the colors that you paint when you're testing
Oh, yeah.
them and stuff.
Oh yeah.
So, you got any friends and stuff that are fishing your tackle and giving you feedback on
Oh yeah.
colors and stuff?
Yeah. One of our plugs won the Derby that was 2 weeks ago up in Eureka. The Eureka Rod and Gun Club put on, and he uses my plugs pretty much exclusively. And it was a red and white plug.
So, first place on your plug.
Yeah.
That's a shout out for your lures
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah, it is. You know, we haven't been in business, but not even a year yet. So people are starting to get using them. They're hearing about them, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But back to the rod, I like to start out, you know, with a good line counter reel, something I can get at least 600 feet of line on.
Okay.
Because if I'm fishing 200 feet behind the boat and 100 feet out to the side with my line on a planer board, that fish already has a 300-foot head start on me when we hook up. And these big fish will take 100 or 150 feet of line the first run like it's nothing. And then you might get them about halfway in and they rest up a little bit and they take off again. So you need something with lots of line. And I use braided line just because it doesn't stretch and you can get more of it on a reel than mono. If I had 30-pound mono on here, it would probably be almost twice the diameter of this. So I wouldn't get as much line on.
So you're using, what are you using?
I use 30-pound mono for the main line, and then I run a 20 or a 25-pound leader. I mean, braided for the main line. Then I use a 20 to 25-pound mono leader. This is actually the fluorocarbon.
You do about a 5-6 foot leader then on it?
Yeah, I start out with about 6. If I'm fishing with flies, I tie the flies directly, so you start shortening up your leader as you go.
Right.
With the plugs, I use a clip just like that, and
Can you clip a plug in there so they can see what it looks like on the rod?
You betcha.
I can hold your rod for you or whatever. So.
My plugs, I put a split ring on the eye, and I think it helps with the action. It just gives that one more place for the plug to move.
Right.
You know, but also there's days like early in the spring when the water's real cold, I might not want as much action, so I might take that off and just go right to the eyelet that's there. But yeah, we just hook them up like this, and there's lots of movement because these plugs, they walk back and forth, but they also dart from side to side. And they're tunable. You know, a lot of people don't realize that you put one in the water, and I watch it beside the boat, and if it's just darting off to the right and not coming back to the left, just keeps wanting to go to the right, turn that eyelet to the left until you get that lure working going both ways.
So basically it's similar to tuning a regular plastic plug that we use, the bass fishermen, the crappie fishermen, pike fishermen use. We want our lures tuned a certain way too, and we tune them the opposite way that it's reacting to bring it back into center.
It's exactly the same process.
So.
And also with these plugs, if you're wanting more action, like when the water gets up to around between 45 and 55, then that's when those fish are real active. And if you want a little more action, you can always drop the front hook also.
Take the front hook off.
Yeah, and leave that one on the back, because they're going to come in from behind this thing and grab it.
Okay.
So you don't want to take the back one off.
Now, is there a reason for the swivel on the back and not one on the front?
A lot of it is to get that hook a little further back.
Okay.
Because if you put it directly right there, that sharp hook, it's called hook rash. It'll just scratch the paint up.
Oh yeah, I got lots of plugs with hook rash.
Yep. And these will get it on the sides from the front hook, but also get that hook back there so when that fish gets on there, the first thing in his mouth is the hook, not the plug.
Okay.
So if he feels that hard plug in his mouth and he tries to spit it out, chances are that back hook's already got it.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
And the swivel also gives you a point where they can't leverage themselves, leverage the hook out of their mouth.
Right.
Too.
And them fish, I mean, they're fighters. They spin. They're like an alligator, you know, when they get a hold of something. They spin. They get all wrapped up in the line. So I put a swivel, you can see it up there, between the mono and
I see you're using a
braided
good ball bearing swivel for that.
oh yeah, yeah.
No shirking.
No.
So.
No.
And that's another thing, you guys. When you're fishing, a lot of people think that you want to go cheap, you know, but if you go cheap, there's a lot of times you're going to lose fish because of that one move.
Yeah.
Going with a Shamco or a Roscoe ball bearing swivel, they're expensive.
Yeah.
You pay for them.
But they never fail.
They don't fail. I mean, they're worth their weight in gold. So
Yeah, and these fish, I mean, you can go out 4 or 5 times and never get a bite. So you get one on and you lose him because you bought a cheap swivel and it breaks in half. You're going to be pretty sick, pretty mad at yourself.
I had to laugh a few years back. Dad and I went walleye fishing. He had got these new fangled lures, and I'd make my own lures, and I'd call them a smile of death for the walleye. And he had something similar, but from one of the big companies. But I used a slow death hook on mine, but he had this fancy one with a swivel on it. And we got this fish right up to the boat, and we were getting ready to net it, and it broke off right there at the swivel on the hook. And I just laughed. And I said, yeah, I'll just keep using my stuff, Dad. And he went out and spent a whole bunch of money on all these lures. I mean, he had four boxes full of these spinners, and it was like, well, I don't know if I trust any of them after the first fish you get, it breaks.
Yeah.
So, but.
Yeah, that's pretty much the rod.
So, the rod set up there, should we, after you're done taking that off, I'll have you talk about the fly and stuff,
Okay, yeah.
and then we'll go talking about. Need to build a shop with a taller ceiling.
Yeah. This rod here is a different brand of rod, but it's the same thing. It's an 8.5 foot rod with a line counter reel on it. But, these are some flies that I tie myself, and I don't sell them. I just tie them for my own use, and of course I give some to people, and other people use them too. But like I said, I just don't have the time to really.
This is what I find very neat about it right here. You're tying it in with a treble hook.
Yeah.
So, and that looks like a Gamakatsu treble.
Yeah, it probably is on that one.
So, good sharp treble hook.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then you do an epoxy head for it.
Yeah, yeah. I just dip a little epoxy on there when they're done, and I like to make kind of a big head on them. It seems to make a difference. But like I say, this time of year, those fish are coming to the surface to feed, and they're feeding on kokanee, and they're feeding on those big black ants. And that black fly right there caught 7 rainbows in 2 days on Kukanoosa.
Ooh, yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, yep, it did.
How many bull trout?
None.
No
Never
bulls.
caught a bull up there, which is amazing. Usually if you catch 1 rainbow, you caught 5 bulls.
Yeah, that's what my experience has been up on Kukanoosa.
Yep, you catch a lot of bull trout.
If you're catching bull trout, it's still fun. You're catching, you're catching fish.
Yeah,
know?
Yeah, you're still catching fish, and
I've
there's
been
some
up
big
there-
old bull trout in there.
I've been up there on Kukanoosa where you fish all day long hard for 1 fish.
Yeah,
And it can be tough.
and that's how the fish that I target are the rainbows. I also use these plugs on lake trout, bull trout. Guys are catching pike with them. But if I'm fishing lake trout, of course, you're fishing down towards the bottom,
Right.
at least this time of year. You know, in the fall, they'll suspend a little more.
How do you rig that up on your you rig that up on a downrigger, I take it?
Yep, I use a downrigger, and I just run just the bare plug out behind there. And sometimes I'll put a little sin on them. You can put a little piece of bait on the front hook if you want to.
Okay.
I don't really use a lot of bait on this setup. You know, if I'm using a flasher and hooch, I usually put a little bait on those because the hooch doesn't have that much action.
Right, right.
Or I use these flies a lot.
The flies worked really well out there for years.
Yeah, but the plug, I'll just put the bare plug back there. But I have also put them behind a flasher or a dodger.
And how do they work behind a flasher or dodger?
It cuts the action down a little bit on the plug, but you get a lot of action on the fish itself. You catch fish because it's attracting them.
So now you say that you're putting them on a flasher. How far do you rig those back off a flasher or dodger?
I run them back about 4 feet.
4 feet. So
Yeah.
So it's a lot different than when you're putting a hoochie on, like a wrap and
Right.
a half around the Dodger or the Flasher to get your action of that fly, where you
Yeah.
want that 4 feet to keep some of the action of this lure in there.
Right. All I'm using the Dodger or the Flasher for is for the fish to see it down deep.
Right.
And once he sees that, and then this is coming along behind it, then
Game on.
yeah,
Game on.
they work real well.
We were talking the other day, in the way when you're fishing the bottom with these just by themselves, you were saying you take the downrigger ball. How did you, we were discussing that. I couldn't remember it right off the.
Well, with my boat, if I'm trolling, to get these plugs to work real well, I mean, you can troll them in 1.5 miles an hour, but to get them to work the way I like them to work, you got to be above 2 miles an hour. And when I'm fishing rainbows, I'll go from 2.8 to 3.3 miles an hour with them. And all I've got is this behind the planer board, no weight or nothing, so they're about 6 to 8 feet maybe under the surface
Okay.
at the most. So if got them on a downrigger and I'm towing them at 2 to 2.5 miles an hour, my ball's trailing back behind the boat a little ways.
Right. Right.
So if the bottom's at 100 feet, I put that ball at 100 foot. And then this is going below that ball about 6 to 8 feet. So it's getting me awful close to the bottom. And them fish, them lake trout, they're hungry buggers. They'll
Now,
come up.
How
after
far
them.
behind the ball do you fish that?
Anywhere from 30 feet to 80 feet.
30
Just
to 80
depending.
feet, okay.
Yeah. And the further back you go, of course, the deeper it's going to go down. You know,
Right. Right.
just from the weight of the Dodger, even, you know, or the Flasher. So yeah, I'll fish them. Just depends. You know, I like fishing them closer to the ball, but it seems like clear water and stuff, you got to get them away from it a little bit.
So now we're going to switch subject just a little bit here. Still got the rods and stuff. When you're targeting specific species like what we're talking about today, the Kamloops or Gerards, and then you got the bull trout that you can fish up on Kukanoosa, and then you got the Max in Flathead Lake. What are the things that you look for between of the two? We'll start out with the rainbow. How do you set up, and what's your thought pattern behind the setup?
Well, like I said, we run them back on the planer boards, and the reason those fish are feeding on the surface, so they're down there. They might be 20 feet down. You'll see them on your screen and stuff, and they're looking up and they're waiting for those schools of kokanee to go over them. And then they'll go up there and they'll either just take one, or they'll go up there and they'll at it, come back and get it, stun it or something. So I'm trying to keep my plug above them because the fish doesn't look down for food.
Right.
The way his eyes are on his head, he's always looking up. So that's why I've got these up on the surface. Where a lake trout, he's down there cruising the bottom. So I got to get him down and get him above him too, but I got to get him way down there.
Right.
I don't seem to have much luck with rainbows on the downrigger. I have caught some. The deepest I've ever caught one was 115 feet, and it's doable, but I don't catch as many fish. But I always have one down there.
Okay.
You know, and I'll just pull the plug back there, and I'll put it 80 to 100 feet behind the ball.
So what are you looking for on the fish finder when you're going, or are you paying as much attention to the fish finder as like if I was out mac fishing and running downriggers down? I pay a lot of attention to the fish finder, where the fish are in the column and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Do you do the same thing with the rainbow?
What I'm looking for when I'm rainbow fishing, I'm looking for kokanee.
So you're looking for the schools, the bait balls of kokanee and stuff
Exactly.
like that. So.
And I'll troll right through them, you know, and because them rainbows they're lurking underneath there just like a wolf, you know, they're down there waiting to get hungry.
And they're big.
Yes.
They're big.
They're big and they're aggressive. You know, when you get on a lake and the rainbows are feeding, it's one of the best things there ever is. I mean, if you go out and catch 5 or 6 of them in a day, that's a heck of a day. You know, I'll fish 2-3 days just for one, and I'm pretty happy. Just the experience of catching one of those fish. They run, they jump, they're big and they're mean and they're fun to catch.
Sounds like a hoot. So what do you have to say? What do you want to talk about with your lures? What do you want to say to the potential customers out there about your lures that, so, we,
I just think once you try them, and once you see the action, that you'll like them. And once you start catching some fish on them, it's like any other bait that you buy. You got to catch fish on it before you start putting some faith in that lure, and you start knowing that if I stick this out there, I've got a good chance of catching one of these fish.
so with this style lure, it's been around for years.
Yes.
So there's a lot of confidence in all fishermen that just see them on the wall.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I mean, people get so caught up into buying the newest, baddest thing that comes out on the market every year.
I see that all the time.
And the tackle
business.
manufacturers, they know that that's what people will do. But these things, they've been around since the 40s, the 30s. They're one of the first things people made lures out of was wood, you know. And like I say, once you try them, you'll like them. And they're just tried and true. They've been around forever.
Well, with that, so I want to give a shout out to Plugit Lures. How can they get a hold of you, Dave?
We have a website. It's plugitackle.com. And we sell these in the sporting goods stores. You can buy them
Do you have it on
online.
the back of your package?
Yeah. Yeah, on the back of the packaging, there's plugitackle.com. There's some little tips on there on trolling speeds. You know, if a person buys one of these and doesn't know what they're doing, they can turn the package over, look at the back of it, and they've got an idea where to get started.
Okay.
You know, because they are a little different. People don't realize that you got to get those lures away from the boat because those fish are shy of the boat. Like I say, I'm trolling through schools in Kokanee. Those fish are looking up and they see this big white boat come by. They go out. Well, that's where my lines are. My lines are 60, 80 feet out to the side of the boat, and they're 200, 300 feet back. So those fish come back around to that school, and then that's where my lure is.
Now, do you have a Facebook page also?
Yes, we have a
That they can
Facebook
follow
page.
you?
Yeah,
So,
Plugit Tackle.
and then that's what the name of your Facebook page is called. Folks, go to Plugit Tackle and follow them.
Check it out. We have 28 different color combinations right now. And like I said, I'm always trying more. But I like to
28
keep,
different color combinations.
yeah,
And are you got them in stores and on your website, all those colors?
all of them.
Okay.
Yeah, the stores might not have every one of them, but we've got them all in on the website, you know, and we'll ship them anywhere you want.
Perfect. Do you take calls if people are wanting to
Yeah.
find out stuff? You work a full-time job also with
Right.
this.
Right.
So you're at late afternoons and evenings, and you were telling me the other day you try to get at least 2 days a week out on the open water fishing.
Well, I started making these because I love to fish. So, yeah, we try to fish as much as we can. My wife loves to fish, so I'm real lucky there. I got a good fishing partner. I don't have to.
And you're saying the grandkids love it too?
Yep, trying to get the grandkids. And the oldest one, she reeled in 10 rainbows there 2 weeks ago. So she was having a good time.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
And you guys fish. We're here in the Flathead, up in the northwestern part of Montana. So we're going to be fishing Flathead Lake, Lake Kootenai, Swan Lake,
Yep. Bitterroot Lake.
Bitterroot Lake,
Ashley.
Ashley.
I haven't actually had these in Ashley, but I'd like to go up there and try it on some of them big cut bows that are in there
Oh yes.
because I think they'd really like them.
Yeah, I've taken my tackle up there and tested it on the cut boats, and they liked it.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
and it's something that they haven't seen up there. So
Yeah.
that'd be something, a whole new deal for them.
Yeah.
So.
No, they'll catch a lot of fish besides just rainbows and lake trout. Like I say, they're catching pike on them. I was working in Colorado. I had some guys that I worked with take a few of them, and they were casting them out in the river, catching smallmouth and pike there in the Apple River in Colorado. They're right by Steamboat.
Oh, I bet you they catch walleye too.
Yeah, like I say, I just haven't had the opportunity to try them on.
So, yeah, them walleye guys, if somebody figures out how to fish them for walleye, they'll be a hit.
Yeah.
So,
So I'm going to grab one of the lures, and it is Plugit Tackle. Plugit Tackle. is the webpage,
Mm-hmm.
www.plugittackle.com. Go check them out. Check out their Facebook page. And I'm going to give a little shout out for my own tackle business, and that's Pete'sTackleShop.com. Go check us out. We got lots of great lures on there, all handmade. Like Dave here, we both make our own lures, and it's a lot of fun for us. I think the fun part about it for me is when a customer buys it and you get feedback on the fish that they're catching with your
Yeah.
tackle.
It's fun
That keeps you going that extra day.
Yeah, when someone comes back and says, "Hey, I bought one of your plugs and I caught a big rainbow on that plug," it makes you feel real good, you know.
It makes you feel like you're contributing.
Yeah.
So,
And I love to see people catch fish. I mean, I don't hide any secrets on how to catch them. I probably have a lot to learn on it too, you know. So, but if anybody asks me, I tell them everything I know about it. Try and get them started.
okay. Well, great. They can contact you through your Facebook page, or they can also contact you through your webpage. You have contact points on there.
Yep.
So, folks, when you see this and stuff like that, contact Dave. Go check out his stuff. Him and his wife work really hard to bring this out to you. I do know that. She does the internet side of it, a lot of the internet stuff and the Facebook stuff.
Yeah.
And Dave does all the tedious hard work, building them, getting the hooks in his hand and stuff like that. So go check them out. And while you're checking them out, go to Pete'sTackleShop.com. Check us out. Follow us on Facebook. And also go to our YouTube page under Pete Jeller. Or you can also find it under Pete's Tackle Shop. And this video will be posted up on the YouTube deal for you to see there. We'll be sharing it on our Facebook pages, both of us. You all have a wonderful day, and just keep tight lines. Get out there and go fishing. Take a kid fishing. Get them started.
I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to show my products out there.
Oh,
Thank you.
It's a pleasure, Dave. It's
Yeah.
a pleasure. I mean, it's fun to talk tackle with someone who does it,
Yeah.
because they understand the pressure that we're under. You know, we're both got our own pressures that we're under, and you know, to get this product out to our customers, make sure it gets to the customer. That's always my fear, that once you put it in the mailbox, that
Yeah.
there. So, but no, and just the different techniques. I mean, both Dave and I airbrush, but I'm looking at his patterns here, and they're simple and they look so fun to paint. And I'm thinking of my patterns that I paint for the bass and stuff, they're pretty darn intricate and stuff like that. So we have two different styles of painting here, and they're both awesome styles of painting.
Yeah.
You know, it's an art. And
It is. They're all their own little individual piece of
so
art.
did you keep your very first lure you ever made? So
Oh, yeah.
So you can look at it?
Yeah. I wouldn't want to show it to anyone.
Oh, I keep mine hanging up over on the wall over here.
Yeah.
So when I look over at them, I know where I've came from and where I'm at now today.
Yeah.
So with that, folks, we just want to thank you. Go to Pete'sTackleShop.com, like us on Facebook, follow us on Facebook. But you all have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye.